Hey, Successfuls, Jolene here. Welcome back to a brand new season of the Success Through Community podcast. Kelly and I are thrilled to kick off season 3 with fresh insights, inspiring stories, and empowering conversations for you, starting with the Unsold Mindset, Redefining What It Means to Sell by Colin, Coggins, and Garrett Brown. So let's get started.
This is the Success Through Community podcast. Okay, so the book we're talking about today is called The Unsold Mindset, Redefining What It Means to Sell. And this book is by Colin Coggins and Garrett Brown. And yes, yet again, they are the narrators of the audiobook that I listened to. They were better. I'm not that we're like here to judge narrators for audiobooks, but I guess we kind of are.
Yeah.
They were better. The only thing that I think bothered me, and I 100% understand why they did it, but irritated me when they went back and forth reading, of course, and it was like, must have been how they wrote the book, where it was like, if it was Colin's chapter, then he read it. It was his story or whatever. But then when they were reading it out loud, it was like they were talking in the third person.
Oh, that's frustrating.
And like, I get it, because if you're reading the book, it needs to be written that way. Totally get it. But when they're reading it themselves, it's like, that's what Colin thought when da-da-da. And I'm like, it just feels weird. I don't know. I just didn't like it. But that's totally a me subjective thing, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, yeah, I just didn't like it. But they are kind of cool because they are actually professors. So they aren't just people who have been sellers, which they have, who, wrote a book about it, but they are actually professors who teach what they wrote this book about. So it's basically I got to take their course, and it's like, professor college course. So it's not like a quick course. It's like semester long kind of thing. So, basically I took their course.
The Cole's Notes version of their course. Let's go there.
Yeah. Or in America, the Cliff's Notes.
Okay. There you go.
They're different, but it's, same thing. And then the other thing that was unique about this book for us, besides the fact that the cover was very eye-catching and I enjoyed it very much, was this is the newest book that we've talked about so far. I think most of our books have been like 2018 and earlier. This one just came out. Yeah, this one just came out in February of 23. So as of the moment that we're recording this, it's like a year old. So that's kind of nice, because things are a little bit more current and modern. And when you're talking about sales, like, that's helpful. So
that's getting up with the times.
Yes, I know, right? Reading a new release? What?
What?
Which, by the way, was very hard for me to find. It was supposed to be, I wanted the physical copy because I had a feeling that this was going to be one I was going to mark up quite a bit. And I could not find it. Like, I'm sure I could have gotten it on Amazon, but like, I wanted it like now. And it was online that it was like, oh, it's at Walmart. It's your local Walmart, whatever. I went, no, it wasn't. So I ended up with the audiobook, which is fine. I just took notes in my trusty little notebook. So it's all good. I would say though, like, to start out with, I didn't at first feel like they were saying anything that was like mind-blowing, if that makes sense. It got more that way, I suppose, but I think it's more like the totality of the book that was a mindset shift. But like, if you look at a lot of the individual things, it's like, yeah, I've heard that before. But because of the way that they combined all of those things together, that was what was unique about it, if that makes sense. That it kind of made you approach it differently.
Yeah, when you look at any topic, and this topic is fairly saturated when it comes to books, but when you look at any topic, everybody's going to have the same message over and over. It's how are they going to put that unique spin on it to make it actually worth, its weight in gold, I guess. And It sounds like this book has a good, unique kind of way of putting things together. So I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, I took notes on this and stuff. And as I was, reading through, there was a specific concept that really stuck out to me that I wanted to focus on for the episode. But then as I kept going, there were like other concepts. One that we ended up bringing into the mastermind that had a profound impact on my business this year. So I don't know, maybe that's going to have to be a Patreon episode. I don't know. And then another one that I feel like is probably going to be a good blog post. So keep an eye out on the blog if you're not already over there. But I'm going to focus on one thing in particular. So they did talk a lot about, authenticity in sales, which again, not exactly mind blowing. A lot of people talk about that, but is super important to me. And the concept of, how not to be salesy. Because I think a lot of people talk about, that they want to be authentic when they sell and they don't want to come across as the pushy car salesman, but then they don't necessarily tell you how to do that. And I feel like these guys are better at that. They kind of give you a bit of a strategy for that.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one big thing is, especially as female entrepreneurs, that seems to be the most common struggle is how do I sell my wares, so to speak, without coming off as that sleazy salesperson? Because I find that, and this is in my experience and a lot of my clients' experiences, I find that when we start getting salesy, it just feels gross. And trying to get past that, because it isn't gross unless you are being gross, right? And trying to find a way to make it work where you are comfortable and getting your message clear. And because if you're not comfortable asking for the sale, you're not going to make it. You're not going to, you don't have a business, right? You have a charity. So yeah,
right. And I think to your point though, I think it may be, I mean, I think it's common among female solopreneurs, but I think it's more about heart-led, service-based solopreneur more so than gender, because I think any of us where our business is to serve people and we want to help people, it is really dangerous not to become a charity. I fall into that trap all the time. So, this for me was like really, really good reminders. Some things were reminders and some things were like, oh, I need to look at it that way and it will make me feel less gross. So one of the
that is the key.
Less gross. Let's feel less gross, guys.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they talked about, and this for me as a coach, as a mentor, was huge. And I'm sure it will be impactful to you as well. But this concept of intentional ignorance. Okay.
Oh, please go further into
deeper, right? Okay. So there's this feeling, this self-expectation that if we are the mentor or the coach or the quote expert, we should know everything.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But sometimes it's actually better if we don't know everything. So there's a couple of things that they noted, I kind of like jotted down as bullet points. So I'm just going to read those as far as like what they mean by intentional ignorance. So what I just said, you don't have to be the expert in everything. Sometimes it's better not to know. But then rather than being knowledgeable about competitors, which is a big one for all of us, be completely knowledgeable about your product. So if somebody's asking you, well, what if I went with, I saw this course that so-and-so was selling. It's not my job to know everything about their course and whether or not mine has the same things or what. It doesn't matter. My job is to talk about my job is to talk about what I am selling, what I offer, and not to worry about that comparison. That's the purchaser's job, to be honest. They need to do the research. They need to go talk to that other competitor and find out from them what their product is, find out from me what my product is. And if both of us are knowledgeable and explain our product correctly, then the person who's deciding what they want to buy is going to make the right decision for themselves, right? Because they know what they're looking for. So this feeling that like we have to know everything about our industry and be on top of all of it is like a pressure we're putting on ourselves that is not necessary and can actually be a curse, because you can almost like sell the other person's product on accident by knowing too much about it. You know what I mean?
Or you'd fall into the comparison gap and the copy gap. And it's an ugly nightmare. But it seems like that is the most common thing. And we do this often. If you're going to go buy a car, you're going to look at every make and model that fits within what you want and all of its perks and what it can and cannot do and its features. why did we stop doing that when we start looking at purchasing services online? Because even if you're buying something online, anything tangible, you're going to check it out on Amazon, and you're going to check it out on the actual uh, creators or makers website and see what's different and all
Yeah,
of that stuff, right? So why did we stop doing that when it comes to services? Because it's bang on. The onus is not on us to know everybody doing everything. It's to know our own product and to be able to sell our own product and our own services in order to make that sale and move forward.
that's right. That's right. And I
Yeah.
think, I think some of that, as you ask that question, it kind of makes me think about my own like landing pages and how I'm
Yeah.
displaying what I'm selling. And I'm thinking, I'm part of that problem
Yeah.
because I'm not sure if, I mean, I know my page like explains what I'm doing, but I think when it's like service based and like when you're selling intellectual property in a way, which is kind of what we're doing, you have to be careful how much you display before they buy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to display enough that they actually know what they're buying. So it's like finding that balance between the two. And now it makes me think, do I need to go look at my landing pages and make sure that it's more clear? Not the how they're going to get what I'm going to offer them, but like, what is it that I'm actually offering them? You know what I mean? Maybe I need to spell it
Yeah.
out more. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
And then we fall into that, the trap of too many words, so to speak. I mean, how many times have you
True.
gotten to a landing page and it's like scroll, 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 scroll because it's stories and it's explanations and it's,
Yeah.
lists and bullet
But that's
points,
where
and
we
it's
use
like, I'm
accordions,
done.
okay? We use accordions for that. So that the page itself is short unless they want more information, okay?
Yeah.
And guys,
Yeah,
if you're listening and
exactly.
you don't know what I mean by accordions, then hit me up because it's a very, very simple tech thing that you can keep your landing pages short and still provide a lot of information.
A lot of information. Exactly. Well, you
Um,
know what's so funny is my entire life, my husband has always said, less words, Jolene, less words, because I use a lot of words.
yeah, well, that's why we have a podcast, so we can use all the words.
All the words. It's
That's
my
what it's
happy
for.
place.
Yes. But so that wasn't even like the main focus though that I wanted to get to. That was kind of like leading into.
Right.
So there's this concept that they have that they talk about called adaptive resilience. And I think
Okay.
for me, I think it stuck out because in the tech type industry that I am in, being adaptive, being adaptable is everything. If you're too stuck in your ways of how you do things, then you're going to get left behind really fast. So for me, that kind of really stuck out. And there's a quote from the book that I'm going to read. And I don't think they attributed it to anyone else, so I think it's them. But they said the capacity to remain productive and true to one's core identity whilst absorbing disturbance and adapting with integrity in response to changing circumstances. Now, let me explain what they mean by that, because that's their definition of
Right.
adaptive resilience. And basically, this is their way of talking about how to use the no's. Okay. So we're all going to get no. We're all going to have a sales call with somebody and they're going to say, no, thanks. I don't think it's for me right now. Or, the dreaded thing that coaches hear, I think I'm going to just try it on my own for a while.
Yeah. Always and
Okay,
forever.
I'll
Yeah.
see you
Yeah.
in 6 months because
Yeah,
you'll be back.
exactly.
Um, but that sort of thing, like those no's, the good no's that are no's because it's just not right for the person, not because we didn't sell properly or whatever. Or even honestly, even if it is because of how we sold, they have a good lesson to teach us, right? And so anytime that we get a no, as much as it's a letdown because we want to sell, we need to look at that as an opportunity. And we need to think of that as, okay, well, what could I have done differently? Could I have done anything differently? Or was this sale out of my hands to begin with? Because sometimes that is true. But most of the time, there's something we could have done differently that would have tipped the scales in our favor, right?
Usually there is something. Yeah.
Usually.
And you would find that after you have, I want to, I do, but don't want to call it that sales meeting. They call it discovery calls. There's so many
Sure.
different words, but technically it's a sales meeting, right?
Sure.
And I recall after so many sales meetings, and I go back, if they didn't jump on and buy right then and there, it's what could I have done differently? Where did I go wrong? And it's not a matter of if I went wrong. It's just, what could I have done differently in order to have gotten that sale? But like you said, sometimes it's just not in the cards that you're not the right fit. And that is okay.
Right. It's actually good because then that customer just saved you from what probably would not have been a great customer situation to begin with.
100%.
So what they're saying basically is like, and again, none of this is mind blowing, right? But it's just when this piece is tied with everything else, which I'm not going to have time to get into because it's too much. It's a mindset shifting kind of thing when you look at it all in that way. But their main thing is like, look, no's are not only are they not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not bad to get no. What's not good is to get the same no twice. And what they don't mean by that is the same person saying no. What they mean is somebody saying no for the same reason that someone else said no.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that makes a lot of sense.
That means you're not doing your job. You're not going back and reviewing that sales call and saying, what could I have done differently? And then actually doing it differently. Right? It's kind of like it's okay to make mistakes, but don't make the same mistake twice. Same thing.
Learn from it. Always.
Exactly. Learn from it.
You said something earlier that reminded me of that non-existing milk commercial. Always learn.
You still haven't found it, have you?
Always. I don't think it exists. I think it's in my head.
I think you totally dreamt it.
All I can find is got milk and the history of got milk.
Yeah.
Right. So, but no, it's just remember, people, milk or not, always learn. Learn always.
Yes. Well, and then, another aspect of this that they talk about is, how to rephrase a negative situation, a no, into a positive. So maybe I got a no, but maybe I got further into explaining it, or I explained it better this time. Like the last time my no was because I wasn't very articulate about, explaining my product or my course or whatever. This time, that wasn't the problem. It was just not in their budget, right? So, looking for the positive, looking for those wins, because that allows us to have happiness and joy around all of our successes through our sales journey, not tied to the outcome of that sale, right? Because we all know that, ultimately, we don't control the outcome of that sale.
Yes, absolutely. I really, really love the concept that this book offers of never having the same no twice. I think that is eye-opening to me, because we always talk about you're going to get no's, you're going to be rejected, it's going to be for any and every excuse, and we train and mentor and coach along the lines of be prepared for I need to talk to my husband and how you're going to respond to that, or be prepared for I need to revisit my budget, and be prepared for the more common no's,
objections,
and how to approach them. Objections, thank you. But I never even grasp the concept of how to visit the concept of the same no twice. And I think that is eye-opening. I really like that.
Yeah, I like that too. But then this next part that I'm going to talk about, and this will probably be the last part, because then it goes into things that I don't have time to go into here. But it's this concept of truly being on the same team as potential customers.
Yes, so, you all have the same common goal.
Right. But I think that it's really common to feel like we're almost like on opposing teams, where it's like either you win, customer, or I win, right? Either I get the sale or you resist the sale. But the fact of the matter is, if it's the right fit, we should both be winning. And if it's not the right fit, we're both winning because we didn't make the sale, right? If we look at it from that perspective and really see ourselves as a partner, as a teammate to that person that we're selling to, it changes our entire demeanor. It changes everything. So for me, this concept of not having to be, and this is especially as a tech coach, because let me tell you, I'll get into a sales call, discovery call, whatever with someone, and I have a particular product or course or whatever that I am selling right now, right? I have my signature offer or whatever it might be, or my membership that I'm planning to open. I know you have a membership as well. And somebody comes to me and says, well, does your membership include XYZ?
Right.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't include that right now, right? However, my membership is a living, breathing thing and I'm always adding to it. So maybe I'll add that. But the fact of the matter is, it's okay for me to say, no, you know what? That's a great idea, right? Don't feel threatened by, oh, this is the one thing they want and I don't have it. And now I need to go make it immediately or they won't buy this, right? That's like the gremlins, to go back to Brene Brown. That's the gremlins that are talking in my head when that happens to me. And it happens to me a lot, because I can't possibly have a course on how to do everything in every system. I can't. It's impossible. But I can take that note from a potential customer and say, you know what? I don't have that right now, but that's a great suggestion. And I will put it on my list as something that I'll probably add in the future because I bet other people need it too. And then you keep
100%.
talking about what it does have, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is like 100% that partnership level, but also that intentional ignorance level of saying like, it's okay that I wasn't an expert and had that ready to go for you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's the only thing that you need, right? It's just what you know you need right now or what you think you need right now.
I love the concept of the partnership. And for me, what that is bringing to the forefront is that it is, again, it's just like from the beginning, this is a sales book. So it brings to the forefront that partnership. I've always kind of thought as my clients and I are at a partnership, we have an end goal. I even mentioned it earlier. The goal is for them to succeed because if they succeed, I succeed. But I've never thought of it in that initial kind of sales meeting, discovery call kind of concept of bringing that partnership together where it is a win-win, where I am going to be learning from them on how to grow my business, whether they buy or not.
Right.
That is, that again, this book is astounding. Like it really is revamping the common concepts of sales and just kind of making you look at it in a different perspective, which I think is so very important. And again, Kelly,
good book, right?
To my library. Like,
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a really good one though. And one thing that they talked about as far as like how to get into that team mentality, because it's easy to say like, oh, think of yourself as a team. Okay. Like how do I do that? Right. So it comes down to something that is commonly taught in sales, which is, do a little bit of research on your quote target. I hate to call them that, but like the person that has scheduled a sales call with you, do a little bit of research on them prior to the call. But what they're not saying is like, oh, find something that you guys have in common or pretend to have something in common with them about something so that you create this fake level of whatever. They have a concept of, and I absolutely adored this, fall in love with your potential customer. So what they said was, do that research, find something about them that you love, whether you have it in common with them or not.
Yeah. I love
Don't you kind of love that? So like
yes.
You take that concept and then when you start, first off, when you go into the conversation, you already love them, right? They're interested in you because they're the ones who reached out in the first place. And then you bring up the fact, you bring up the fact, and you're interested in them, but you're interested in them, not just the royal them as like, oh yeah, I'm interested in you as a potential sale. No, I'm interested in you as a person. And you can even like start the conversation out that way. I don't think it's creepy anymore to like know something about someone before you actually talk to them. Because if it's public on social media, people are going to know it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't know everything about them. Don't like fall down a rabbit hole for 3 days and like know their entire life story. But, scroll through and find something that you love about them that you can, call attention to or bring up early in the conversation. Because typically most of us will ask, in our sign up form for a call like that, we'll ask for a link to their website, or we'll ask for a link to their social media or something where they're giving us a place to go research them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But we never
So
really do anything with it.
yeah, we don't. So yeah, so you basically, you go to wherever it was that they sent you, you find something that you fall in love with, and then when you're in that conversation, you can very organically and authentically say, hey, when I was checking out your Instagram, I noticed that you were, that you're into I literally can't think of any idea, but like I noticed that you're into skiing. And that's something that I've always wanted to do, but I've always been a little bit too scared. Like, how did you get into doing that? Start a
Yeah. Make it
conversation where
about them.
now, yeah, where it's about them and they're like telling you something.
Yeah.
Because honestly, a sales call should be mostly your customer talking anyway.
Yeah.
And this
This
puts them at ease, right?
this brings me back to like photography days when somebody would do an inquiry and we would go back and forth on online or email. And before I actually met them, I would look them up on their socials to
Sure.
find out what they like to do, because it was important in the concept of photography, because you'd find that they are mountain climbers. And you bring it up. I see you guys love to go out into the mountains and, you do a lot of adventure stuff. Did you want to do your engagement session there? Like, let's talk about that. Tell me more. And it was something that I always did for photography, but I never once thought or considered doing it for online coaching, because I ask the questions and they answer them. And then that's what we talk about. I never brought in that personal fall in love with them kind of concept. And
Yeah,
I think it's brilliant,
I
actually.
know.
And it really is the way to go.
I know. I kind of love it because then it's like your sales call sounds more like our episodes, right? Like banter between friends,
Yeah.
as opposed
Yeah.
to this
And not
super formal, you
sales
know,
pitch.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then by the end of the call, even if their answer is not right now, you've left such a better taste in their mouth that
Yeah.
when things change for them, they're so much more likely to come back to you, right? Or maybe you
Absolutely.
even keep talking, like not in like a salesy way, but like if you've connected on social media, follow them,
Yeah.
and like organically react to things, like not like constantly harass them by liking all of their posts, but like when you see something that, ideally is probably related to that thing you fell in love with in the first place, don't be afraid to just react to it and be friends, because honestly, almost one of the best things about like social media as far as sales goes is that you can stay fresh in somebody's mind without harassing them with sales emails
This
if
sounds
you're
like
like top of mind for them, right? Because they see like, oh, you're commenting, you talk back and forth, and now they're thinking, oh yeah, that thing that they sell, maybe I should do that now. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, I'm in love with this book. I'm going to
Yeah,
be
it's
ordering
a
it
good one.
because it sounds like the ultimate guide to the heart to sales for the heart-led entrepreneur.
I think so too. I think so too.
Yeah.
And like further into it, and like just to get, to give you some like examples. So one thing that I'm going to talk about, probably over on the blog. So again, if you're not subscribed to our blog or whatever, you might consider signing up for it because this is going to be a good post. But it's talking about, um, like this concept of viewing a challenge from 6 specific different perspectives. And like by challenge, they mean like helping you to find a solution for your customer, right?
Okay.
And thinking in that way. So that's one thing. I'm going to do a blog post on that. And then another one, and this one was hugely impactful to me this year and my business, which was really honing in on your purpose, which if you're service-based, heart-led business like we're talking about, and this sales mindset is for, then your purpose is everything. And I think so many of us are focused on our why, our I help statements, our things like that. And this is really diving into like, no, what is your true GPS for your business, and like getting super specific. And I mean, I read it to you guys in the Mastermind, the one that I came
Mhm.
up with, and it is a full run-on sentence. Okay, people, there is no
Yes,
punctuation,
yes.
grammatically horrific, but it's such a great guidepost for me as far as decision making and goal setting and everything. So we talked about that and did a session on that in our mastermind this season. But I don't know, maybe we'll do an episode for the Patreon about it too. So again, go check out the Patreon, get into the free community, and you'll see if and when something like that drops.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I love the idea of bringing that into the Patreon because, to be honest with you, when we talked about it at the Mastermind, I hadn't realized it was from this book.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole concept of having it and finding that North Star, that GPS system for your business as a personal guiding light, guiding star, GPS system, all of that fun stuff. It was something that we all kind of went, whoa. It's not a mission statement. It's not our why. It's not a what I do. It was profound when we all kind of did the exercise, did it together. So I think it's something that maybe it's a great idea if we do this for our Patreon. So I think I'm going to hold you on that, and I'm going to call you out and
insist upon it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to do it, people. It's now official.
Well, then you better get over to the Patreon, because that means that the episode is already there and you can go listen to it and do it right now.
Absolutely. Oh, good job. You're quick.
I am so
good
quick
at what you do.
I haven't recorded it yet, but I will, and it will be there. I think, though, it might be one of our special coaching episodes instead of a discussion episode, because it's not, I don't know how much of a back and forth. It's more like helping you go through the exercise that we go through to do this. So again, you can also pick up their book and go through it with them, and because I'm not bringing any of my own knowledge into it. This is me translating their knowledge. So feel free to buy the book too. It's in the show notes as well.
Link in the show notes. I'm pointing
Yep.
down just for the visual down
Same
there.
here.
Show notes, linky loo. Yeah. Okay.
If you guys want to connect with us on social media, Jolene, do you want to tell them how they can do that?
Sure. You can follow us on Instagram at Success Through Community, or join our free or paid communities over at Patreon, which is patreon.com/STC Productions.
The best way that you can support the podcast is to make sure that you are subscribed wherever you're listening and leave us a review. That's the only way that new people will find and join our community. The Success Through Community podcast is hosted by Kelly Gable and Jolene Mills, and all episodes are solely the opinions of the respective host. Our sound production and editing is done by Kelly Gable, and all visual creative, including our logo, was created by Jolene Mills. The Success Through Community podcast is an STC production.